My hand is spread
You
out.
just have to act like we're like each other.
Welcome, everybody. We'll open the meeting now. I think everybody's essentially got a seat so we can move forward. I'd like to first just ask the re-elected as Mark, but three new board members just to introduce themselves and make sure everybody out there knows who they are, if you don't mind.
Sure. Hi, my name is Boyd Fleer. I live over here on Harbour at 18028, up in the front.
I'm Jim DeForest. I live at 2725 Lighthouse Drive.
I'm Fred Martin, 2709 Lighthouse Drive.
Well, Mark, you've been with us before, but
Mark Wodaski, I live on 1827 Harbour.
okay, going forward, I'll say we have a Zoom link tonight. It's new to us. We're trying to get it converted over so it's all under Val Harbour. If anybody has any difficulty connecting or has any feedback for us, please proceed on and maybe make sure that someone in the office is aware of it so we can try and correct it for the future. The next thing that's on the list, it was brought to my attention inadvertently by someone else, and I did do some research on it. But we were sort of admonished by the fact that when we had our meeting and the new board members were elected, that we excused ourselves and went into an executive session. When we came out of that executive session, we advised everybody who the officers were that we terminate on 30 days. According to Texas Property Code, we are not supposed to elect officers other than an open meeting. I want to apologize for anybody that's offended. We will try and do better. If there's any correction somebody wants to make to that, we will press on and do that as she advises us. Just to acknowledge it, we're going to try and pay attention to that property code as well as the CNRs going forward, so that we get less darts thrown at us as far as making screw ups. Other than that, the first thing on our agenda is the insurance renewal. I sent out today, because I didn't get it so late, an email that we received from our current broker. He has suggested 2 strategies as far as going forward. I also sent out some information that was the history of where we are, the problems we've had with the current broker since he's been in place, which is the end of June last year, 1st of July. I don't know if anybody has any questions, first of all, because some people may not, I know the new members may not be aware of some of that history. If you have any questions to start with, I'm going to try and handle those because I was a point person that interviewed for the broker last year. So.
I actually have a couple questions for you. Thank you for sending out that email. Again, for the meeting. Just one earlier. Well, one about the insurance. So could you just quickly give us a summary of the issues were with the previous broker and how we changed brokers and how we came up with the new broker, so we're all on the same page?
Yeah, this will be redundant for some people, but I'm going to say probably last February or March, Rick and I were meeting on something else, and we were talking about insurance, and he indicated then that he could use some assistance on it. I wasn't an expert, so I told him I would offer it out. That led up to the time we had a renewal coming up in June of our liability insurance. We started talking about replacing the current carrier, the current broker, not carrier, broker. The reason for that was some difficulties that we had, Rick had in actually some communication with that broker, responsiveness, and a lack of help when we had a claim. I think it was after the hurricane, it was a claim for the marina. Based on that, I reached out to the current broker and 2 others. It was Alliant, who we ended up with, and the other broker was Higginbotham. And tried to get the 3 of them to give us information about going forward. Based on that, Higginbotham gave me, said to us that they would very much like to bid on it and, or be our broker, but at the time she was not able to be responsive. She said she had, too much on her plate, she couldn't do it. And her recommendation was, as opposed to coming and making a presentation to us to be selected, she said, pick a broker and go with them because you need a broker to represent you to give the best overall picture of Val Harbor in a very concise and acceptable way. You didn't need them conflicting with each other. I did not get any response back from the broker from Marsh. We had a little bit of communication, but she did not respond to me. Ally did. And we had two recommendations from two homeowners at that time who supported that. He came in and made a presentation to the board, and it was voted on back in June as far as what we did going forward. They were selected. It was too late based on the timing of when they were selected and signing a broker record letter for them to do anything with the liability because it came up June 17th. So we went ahead with it. Roll over the existing coverage, and they signed on for the next renewal, which was in November. That's our problem.
So what's the process if we decide, say next year, we decide next year to change brokers? What's the process?
The process is to have someone find a broker who wants to do the reports, make a presentation, and decide as a board. Alliant has in their letter that they sent or the email today, if they will work, if that's the choice that the board wants to make, they will definitely work to try and transition that and continue forward. So that's it.
So previous problems we had with the broker, policy company or both?
I think probably the claim was as much the insurance company as the broker. I think.
Yeah, it was, or like you said, originally, I was disappointed in when we had a claim, you know what I mean, and now following up, following up and helping out more. And then at the time, I thought that our broker didn't communicate good enough with me and was waiting to the last minute for renewal and stuff, but I think now that's probably more of the norm. I mean, just dealing with the next broker seems to be something that you just got to deal with.
Well, being fair to the broker that we have, which was Marsh & McCoy, one of the carriers that they did have coverage with did have their coverage reduced in the last several months of the policy, and it was reduced to a C, something I think was acceptable. They did not advise us about that. When it did come up, they did make a correction, but it was actually brought to our attention.
Understand.
So, thank you very much. I've got one more question. Since I'm new to the board, does anyone on the board have a chance to look into these insurance companies and see what their ratings are, and see what the broker's track record is at this point?
As far as the broker is concerned, we went closely, and I think one of the homeowners is here tonight, Steve Woods, his company works with Alliance, so that they have experience with it. I do not. I have not.
You hear what they're saying?
As far as the insurance companies go, they have a criteria that they only work with those companies that have the highest rating. Yet it's difficult on this property because water damage, with water vicinity, but and age to it. Water is the biggest issue.
And I have a question. Did we make any attempt to talk to any local brokers? Now, the concern, this guy's in Austin, and looks like we've had a lot of trouble communicating with him, and had a hard time getting back to us.
He addressed that in that one of his, I think it's in the email that he sent today. He is suggesting that one of the things that we do, they have a Houston office, is that they assign somebody in the Houston office to be our direct contact, so that particularly Joy will have somebody local that she can call and talk to, that might help to resolve the issue. I mean, they're a big company. There's definitely been a communication issue.
Houston is Houston, we're clear, anybody out here. So-
I don't know where their office is, so I can't help you with that.
Has any attempt been made to find anybody locally? Has any attempt made to talk to Nassau Bay or any of the other HOAs that have local representatives?
The closest I can tell you is that when I talked to Higginbotham, I think that they were more, closely related to this area, but she was not, at that time, she was not able to help us, so. No, I have not, so I don't know if anybody else. It's been a horrendous year as far as insurance goes, both with communication with our broker. They gave us reports that I will tell you during the time they were reading it, of how many companies they went out to, which was excessive. I mean, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but it was over 20 different insurance companies that they presented our coverage to. And in one case, the insurers continued with the same insurer that we had, which was Markel. The property coverage on the building was different. There was another issue with that one. Somewhere in the system, the underwriter got the wrong zip code. And for anybody who doesn't know it, there's an exact same address at the 123 Lakeside Lane in Kingwood. When they wrote the original coverage with the underwriter, they wrote it under Kingwood address, which is not a water location. That was why the cancellation and rewrite happened in February. The Alliant, when they became aware of it, communication from the companies back to Alliant and us and all that happened about the same time, which is not the best timing. But they did replace that coverage, and we have the coverage is a little different. In some cases, it's better. And the one thing that was downgraded a little bit is our fencing coverage. We used to carry 45,000. The maximum this company could do was 35. Some of the other things that were done, they increased some of the coverage on the buildings themselves, and everything else stayed the same. And essentially, we were able to stay on budget for the year with our property coverage, even with the problems that we had. There's an existing issue that's going on right now that Rick's been handling, and that is this building had what they call Federal Pacific electric management. Had two, in fact. When they did the inspection of the property, they advised us of that, and they sent a notice that that coverage would be reduced. Rick has talked to one of them has already been replaced, and they're already starting to present that to the insurance company so that that waiver will be removed and we'll be back to full coverage. Federal Pacific is a known fire hazard to all major insurance companies, particularly in the commercial industry. And that was why that was an issue. So we had others, I think, that had replaced or there was one downstairs that you're not using anymore. I know I saw it.
So I have a related question, including that in the email. I have personal experience with never lived or have a structure with its circuit breaker in the power system. Do any of the homes have those breakers?
I don't know, wasn't there some on Starboard? Yeah, I think there was some on Starboard that had them, I don't know how many have been replaced and how many have.
So the issue that I read about is the 226 breakers, the double breakers. When they tripped the first time, they tend to hang and never trip again.
Right.
And there may be other issues, but currently the company had two facilities for manufacturing these breakers, and one of the facilities was causing all the problems. But in general, they have such a bad reputation that the facility really needs to change.
Right. So breakers not taken.
So we had a fire, may not have been contribution to the breaker, but it was an electrical fire started by that. And then the breaker they were,
The Federal Pacific issue has been in place for quite some time. I learned a little bit about it when looking at what the guys were doing the other day, I never understood exactly why, but apparently it has to do with that figuring. They didn't talk about the figuring the first time, but they sure they don't, they overheat before they trip.
Yeah.
And that's where the potential fire gets in. I used to have personal experience when I was replace numerous ones. Really old property.
Yeah.
That's what we had. Some of them were really too small too. Look, the last one we had to do was just a small subhead.
So if we were to go with this broker, what would be our term of contract?
Well, if they,
What would be our obligation to them?
we have no obligation to them at all. If we can cancel using them at any time, just give them a notice, and that's what he referenced in his email, that they would be happy to try and transition to a new agent. The coverage, the basic thing is our insurance coverage, we want to get it in place. There's no, I don't know that we've had any objection to any of the actual coverage itself. We've had difficulty with it. The industry right now is, one of the things that Alliant talked about then was trying to realign our renewal dates so that they were not coming up during hurricane season, and so that they did not come up right at the end of the year. Those were two times that made it very difficult to renew because of one hurricane season and the end of the year, because the availability of their market was small at that point. Unfortunately, the one deal with the policy having to be rewritten was ended up in February. The date when it works to our benefit. That's one of the things that we have to decide whether we want to keep that or move it forward to June. They're recommending really that we need to look at whether we want to move the liability to that February day as opposed to leaving it in June. And if we did that, they're suggesting we redo it, and they would work it out with the broker, the insurance company, that it would be not canceled but rewritten in February as a short renewal period as opposed to a cancellation.
So we would do a full term insurance and then rewrite it.
Rewrite it at the time that they're trying to coordinate with the other policy that we currently have in February. It would be, and the other one, I don't know what they're going to have a recommendation on, is we currently have the property coverage for the marina. Is still in the November, December 17th. What is it? December, okay, so in the December timeframe. It is a different policy, and it is a different company. I don't know if there's any benefit to moving it. The issues there become budgeting and payment, whether we want them all come at the same time or if we want to try and spread it out. But that's not a big spread between December and February.
Sure, that was one of the questions that came up in my mind, was if we move all the same date, that's a lot of money going out one time. Do we have the cash reserve to handle that change, and this is all one time?
The liability is the least expensive of all that we're dealing with. The other two, that's where the big nut is, and right now that's December and February.
Those are pretty close to each other, so
They're all
probably doesn't make much difference.
changing the December one, when it comes up, we can find out what the market has. Like I said, the insurance company that has that has had that coverage for some time. And they were able to get it renewed without any change in coverage. Something that was added this year that we did not have before, we had a $250,000 deductible on insurance. In trying to get that down, Alliant did go to Lloyd's of London, and they were able to get us a buy down of the deductible. And we had a choice of either taking it down to $100,000 deductible or $150,000. When that became an option, the board elected to go with the buy down to 100, so that it was a more reasonable deductible number. Should we ever need it? One of the other things that in the last 3 years, when I went back and looked at some of the numbers over the history, the insurance was going up roughly in the neighborhood of 12 to 15% annually, which is pretty consistent until think it was 21 or 22, after we had the claim, because of the hurricane, a couple things happened to us. Not only did we have a claim, which of course they look at as being not a great thing, but we had damage there, but we were underinsured dramatically. And so the insurance level was increased. And do you recall how much it was on the marina before we increased it?
Not right offhand.
It was increased to about $1 million. It's about $1.4 million, $1.7 million, 600 and
3 something.
yeah,
300.
it was a dramatic increase in coverage as well. So that also increased our premium when it was least expected, when the premiums were going up. In fact, it would have doubled it. We asked them to evaluate the coverage here on this building to make sure that we had to be claimed here, that we are within reason. They said it's an acceptable rate that we are at 80% co-insurance on the building here. And actually, this building, the tennis building, the workshop. That was probably over-insured, but I mean, it's close.
Yeah.
Those are some of the factors that we have to deal with: it's the co-insurance, the amount of coverage, and all of that combined with what's happening in the insurance industry.
What decisions do we need to make?
At this point, our insurance renews June 17th as far as the liability, and that's marine liability, general liability, umbrella, D&O. We need to decide how we're going to allow Alliant to go on and do that. They suggested 2 different ways of approaching it, or are we wanting them to be replaced and go decision. Whether we want to continue with Alliant or we want to find a new one.
And so the premiums for those are the ones that shifted in the.
That's what the last year's premium was actual, but that's what we budgeted for this year.
Right.
And they're saying that going forward for next year, it's probably in that same range of the 10-15% that would be looking at again for next year, what we have the next year. His suggestion for the first strategy, so that everybody knows what this is. Strategy 1 was to request a flat extension on the June liability renewal to coincide with the now February 25th property renewal date. Renew the D&O and workers' comp effective June 2024, maintain those renewal cycles. Extend the marine property insurance renewing December 24th to the February 2025. And revise the structure and marketing timeline to be based on February 2025 cycle. That was strategy number 1 that was suggested in the year. Strategy 2 was we can maintain all renewal dates and initiate renewal marketing for the June liability policies that exist today. So they're seeing about a 5 to 15% increase in the market for 2024. I think our budget covers that, and we anticipate the current carriers will be competitive as far as going forward. But additionally, they said we've had a Houston team that I feel can meet the support for service and renewal needs. If we develop and agree upon a service plan with predetermined meeting expectations, I do feel we can handle your needs. But of course, want you to have the confidence in Alliant that you are getting an engagement you expect. If not, we are prepared to transition to a new provider at your direction.
So to like expiration dates and whatnot, is there a financial benefit we can like on such?
The financial downside is that they all come at the same time. They have to be their budget wise and setting that money aside for them. You're not guaranteeing us anything. I mean, the property coverage that we have, that comes up in February, we got an extension essentially on what the existing rate was, so it did not get affected by anything. They are talking to the carriers with them. They have not got any hard, fast numbers that we can tell them. Say, for sure it's that
So what would be the advantage?
It is, they talked to me about it originally when the concept came up was that by having a policy for new at a similar date, they would have more flexibility in trying to negotiate with the various companies and how it was combined or split up. Originally, they were trying to combine the building here with the marina. At the last minute, it did not work out that way, it's not that it's still better. But that was the advantage is that more buying power with a single insurance company as opposed to a number of spread out ones that might give us more buying power, give us maybe not a reduction in our premium, but possibly an increase in it, particularly in the liability. That was the only thing that I mentioned.
So it sounds like one part of this decision is to go out and possibly interview other brokers in addition to the current one, or do we just stay with the current one? That's one, that sounds like that's one.
I think the first thing we have to decide is if we're good, because to be fair to any broker, if we hire a new one, they need to have some time to work on this, so it needs to be done timely. I don't think it is appropriate for us to tell Alliance that we're going to string along and continue to use them and then don't like that. We need to give either one of them a fair chance. There I'm saying that from your mind there on what they told me. It was better if one broker made a presentation and tried to get us the best coverage and was close to presentation. Not to have different brokers presenting different.
I'm not at all an insurance expert, but I mean, only Alliance is a very good insurance company, and I understand there is no bidding involved. We cannot bid to get the prices. But don't we owe it to ourselves to at least talk to one or two local brokers and check with the clients if they're happy with them? I mean, brokers are familiar with our area, circumstances our area has, and not having any surprises, and we can talk directly to the clients and see what's how they like their services.
I want to say, I think the best I said last year, if somebody wants to pick up that ball, or just tell them why, go on home, that's fine. That's the choice. I have no axe to grind either way. I'm just trying to get the best price for the best coverage. It seemed to me like that's what I got. Yes, Gary.
I have a question for Rick regarding the insurance. We talked about the workers' shed. The shed for the workers. Do we really need to have that insured? Other than tools, rebuilding it would be just a week's worth of work. And as well as the Tennessee Pro Shop, I would imagine the workers could get that all cleaned up in a heartbeat while the insurance goes to pieces.
Well, I mean, if we ever have anything that's a really bad storm, they could be wiped out pretty bad. It's more of a.
But the shed, my question or my statement is, the shed, if you have a bad storm, what are we losing?
Right. Yeah, maybe.
If the wire comes up high enough into the pro shop and the bathroom, what are we losing? It cannot clean out in a week's time.
Right. Well, our tool shed, we got that bad again, but probably collapsed. But a lot of it's tools. I don't know how. Do you know what we have on the structure itself?
I think the structure is covered for $20,000 because it's some little
But overall, I guess, are you talking about the flood insurance on it or the regular insurance? I'm just.
Because they're two separate policies.
Yeah, there's
I
also flood
understand.
insurance.
Well, flood insurance is not going to take care of the shed.
Is
I
what,
take care
It
of
is insured.
it's covered,
the
it's
flood
covered.
insurance.
Because that's
Everything
what,
will be
that's
gone.
what's gonna cover all the stuff.
If everything will be gone. Do we have a value of tools over $20,000?
Yeah, I think last time, or during, what was that, Harvey, I think we got $70,000. Or, you know, I mean, they gave us $70,000, which with the insurance claim, for tools.
Area, and you've got some good questions. I think without having the policies in front of us, the problem is answering your question directly. Because both with flood and the property coverage, they both have coverage for the buildings and what the contents is. I don't remember the numbers. I haven't looked at that in detail.
Oh, it's just something to think about.
But it's, yeah, it's relatively minor compared, well, the tennis buildings, but the shed building.
That can be cleaned out in 10 days or less. Because I do the restaurant, and I know we get the workers in there. That restaurant is up and going in 5 days after being full.
I don't remember the premium related to it versus the rest of it, so I don't have that.
I think it's, yeah, more of the tools that we're worried about. You said you thought we had to have a minimum on that
So
building.
some of the policies actually have what they call out structures, which provides a minimum coverage, essentially without having any premium allocated to it. On this particular one, I do not have. I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked at it.
I know after we were talking about replacement, but it had to be, it was almost 20 feet higher than it was. And nobody was interested in replacing the building on up and downstairs, you know what I mean? And the building. That workshop is in pretty bad shape though.
So Barb, the insurances that are due in June,
Yes.
those are all liability.
They're all liability. There is no property coverage to it.
So the question you need to answer tonight is, do we approve that liability, carry us through? And we can always answer the question of, do we change the cycle next year, or when February comes up? Unless I'm wrong about understanding that. But, so right now, we're really just focused on liability.
We need to review the liability and decide whether we want Lion to move forward with doing that, or if we want to find another broker to do that. That's the first question that has to be answered.
And we're 5 weeks from the expiration date of the current policy.
June 17th.
So it doesn't leave an awful lot of time to go out and find other brokers for the liability policy. And what we're talking about cost-wise is this number right here,
I
right?
think
40,000.
yeah, we have budgeted 40,000. Last year it was 36,600. That does include an increase over the 36,600 that should take care of what he's talking
That's
about.
a 10% increase across the board.
Yes, and that should cover what he's expecting the increase to be, but we don't have the numbers on that. And he's just saying, we want me to get them or
How long would it take you to?
we don't know. Last time unfortunately, with the property coverage, we ended up getting bids, or he got bids, not for us, but he was getting bids up until the day. So, it's a crazy insurance one. I don't know enough about it to be able to answer that.
I don't either. I suspect liability would be a little bit easier for them to rate than what
Probably.
property coverage would be.
Property, but how much of the property coverage.
But we're still under tight timeline to get the liability coverage in place.
Yes.
And that total right now, we're budgeting $40,000, almost $300. So it's 10% increase over last year's. And you think, based on what he told you, that the interest rates, he should be able to meet that budget.
That is supporting, and I'm just reading from his email, is 5 to 15% is the range that they're seeing on those increases in the market.
And that's for liability, not property.
He knows we're talking about liability.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me a little bit, it's not a huge concern, I guess, overall, but if it's 15%, we budgeted 10, we're gonna have to get some money from somewhere to cover that other 5%. So
This is our main issue.
that's what I'm concerned with. Yeah.
So you still have on the table a decision whether you should look at the availability of other brokers or are you saying that either kind of insurance without that flexibility isn't available to us?
I know it's a flexibility, it's a matter of who wants to take on that job. So the time frame is short. We started in early May last year, and up to the end of June, and then July. So I don't know. That's
Based on that experience.
based on my experience, I really think that we've had issues with the communications between them. I think, and I'm going to say on both sides. I don't think it's been solely on their side. It's been issues. And if we go through with the renewal on the liability, I think there's then a chance between now and the renewals coming up, either perform or we'll find out early if they're not going to perform, and that gives some time frame for looking at finding, selecting another program forward before we ever renew the property. So, we're ready.
We met the Houston office for the long, ready to that.
No, only the office from us. He's the main contact from I have made a company. So I don't.
So personally, since the time is so short, I'm okay with a lot of I think we ought to tell them about the Houston office, and we're going to consider a regular group decides they want to go up to the broker.
Okay, all I say is if we're going to do that, we should keep them at that's all right. Any more comments?
I guess the only other comment I would make is based on the discussions we've had so far. It may be a good idea for us, and I don't know the mechanics of doing this, by the way, but it may be a good idea for us to designate an ad hoc subcommittee to take on this issue of the insurance and how we're going to approach insurance cycles and carriers moving forward. And just get a small group of people together and kind of ferret out all this information for us and report back to the decision.
So do we have any volunteers?
Yeah, probably the issue.
I don't mean to put it that way, but it's definitely.
So I'll volunteer. I'm not on that committee yet. So I'll volunteer before I get
I mean, I brought up the issue of the subcommittee, and I'd be willing to step in. The only caveat is I've got some things in a couple of weeks that are going to keep me tied up, which makes this timeline hard for me to do. You know, I can't do much in the way of getting something done before the June 30th timeline. But I can certainly work with people to get in contact with other brokers and, you know, feel out who is the best option for us to look at. We want to be on the field.
very good.
Yes, Karen. In my homeowner's insurance, if I decide to change insurance during the year, I can do that. Why can we not accept this liability and take care of that in June the 17th? Then we do the research. We're not locked in for a full year. Not. So if we get a committee that's not rushing, and then if we find another company that can offer us more or less, then we switch over.
The only thing you're locked in on is a very brief period. Is generally your policies are 3 months.
That's
For
okay.
3 months.
That's
After that, you're absolutely right. There's no problem with cancellation.
And switch over. Let's give ourselves some leeway so we're not being stretched.
Yes,
I guess to summarize, we don't have time, I don't think we have time to do much for the liability. just the second one is to seriously spend some time with 2 or 3 local brokers just to visit and see if we have the local through their clients. People who can both ways are familiar with this area. So maybe we should proceed with the liability of it right now. And then form a group, like we said, we can try to say that. There's 1 or 2 people, and I understand we have a broker somewhere in our neighborhood that wants to volunteer and volunteer helping, and I definitely prefer to have a local broker that we can talk to and actually talk to his clients and get a feedback. I guess how we in the city of Nassau Bay or Nassau Bay HOA. See if they're happy with the people they have that are open, and let's find out what they can do. So I guess what I'm saying is stay with Alliance for the liability right now, and immediately try to form a group and do some effort to, find out 2 or 3 other local.
If we sign the liability contract now, what's the term?
There is no contract, so it's to give them, essentially our, support to say, go out and find replacement for the liability. And, they did working on it. It's just to say to continue that as opposed to doing it like with somebody else. And,
Because they have to have somebody for us, like the 17th, right?
their position is to renew the policy before it expires June 17th. Within all the policies.
If we renew it on the 17th, we are committed to a year.
3 months.
3 months.
That's generally what your short-term cancellation tells you. You can cancel it shorter than that, but you're gonna pay a higher premium. After 3 months, that's generally the earned premium that they have as a base, and then beyond that, it's prorated based on the time. So it would be from June 17th, if you're talking about September 17th, I'm hoping you wait that long. If there's really some concern about changing, it needs to be done concurrent with when that timing is, and also be prepared to deal with property insurance that will be coming up in December, because that's a big issue. That's a lot more money.
We went ahead and let them go with this now. And whatever they come up with for June 17th, it could be more than 40,000, it could be less than 40,000.
That's correct.
Then we were committed for 3 months. Meantime, we could be looking for a local broker.
We're committed to the insurance company, not the broker.
Right. Yeah.
The policy can carry to another broker.
If you find another broker, we can let Alliant know that you have found another broker and they'll have to transition to it.
But you're committed
you may or may not need to change policies. That depends on whether you get
you're committed to the policy itself for 3 months, else you're gonna lose money.
But a new broker can take over those policies before the 3 months.
Exactly.
And then that way if we did find a local broker that's more tuned to our specific needs, we could do switch.
That's right. Sounds like we have 3 volunteers for and Rob was right, there was somebody who was at that meeting back in May or June who said they're an insurance broker for people like that. Okay, it would be worth, I think, adding to the list, talk to them and see if we can help that. I think that we have in the community.
Tasks associated with that, with this community to find it in from all of it. That's a good perspective, whether that's good practice.
When we visit the brokers, we're all going to have ideas about mean, this is a better, not being better.
Yeah, at this point, if somebody's ready to make a motion, we need to make a motion, whether we continue first of all with the line to go through the bill. I'm gonna say second, because I tell them what they want to, work on it with the strategy 1 or 2. At the email, and then also, I think,
Policy that's come through. And through to the side of the to evaluate probably both groups.
based on what your strategies were, the only, on the second part of that, going forward, we would want them to renew for 12 months on a regular basis, by negotiate, which is regular. That's the only issue that they're asking for. Different than just going forward. Thoughts on that?
We think they need to first have option 1 of the first to get it out there.
I think that's what, so let's make a motion.
Make a motion to stay with the line.
No, option 1.
To renew that.
I'm sorry, Rob, is the first option,
Okay.
you want the option,
Okay,
their strategy.
Motion to renew with compliance with option 2 of the liability. That kind of covers everything.
Option 2 would be stay with the line and let them renew for June of next year.
I'll second.
Somebody needs to make that motion, I can't make the motion, somebody needs to make the motion.
So I'll make a motion that we stay with the line to renew the existing liability policies, currently through the next one. Second.
Is there any more discussion? That motion. I will give a vote on the motion.
Yes.
Yes. I didn't hear. Are you calling for it?
A vote.
Yeah, I heard that we're calling for a vote. Did you call for all those in favor or what?
Yes, I just
Okay,
saw
then
it.
aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that motion passes, and we will, that motion is continuing, we will approve June of next year on a 12-month basis.
Excuse me, could y'all speak up a little louder?
We can't hear.
Thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Second on our agenda tonight.
We need a motion for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we create a subcommittee dealing with insurance. Make a motion that we create a subcommittee to deal with insurance.
I'll second.
Discussion. Motion in a second, and then the discussion, so that the vote on is that approved?
Aye.
Yes.
So I'll be one member, Fred Martin.
I volunteered since I did another member, I think.
And,
And I volunteered, Jim suggested we go, and we have a potential homeowner that approach this information. We will help you. Thank Fred for taking
don't mind holding.
The next item that's on the agenda is the discussion and code of conduct. When we had our meeting to last after the annual meeting, there was a number of our new members who had not seen the code of conduct that had been sent out. Or if I have questions or discussions regarding that,
I read through it, and I find that it's very similar to what we thought. I did have a question that I wanted to talk to the insurance broker. I just email everybody saying they talk to folks, so it's form. I just think it's industry clear. Unless expressly,
Move to the front row. So there's 4 empty seats in the front.
Okay,
There's 4 empty seats in the front.
so, I don't think we had a formal process to authorize, other than to ask the board internally to, I'm just reading it, maybe about the actual document. So, make any direct contact or communication with any of the association's vendors unless authorized by the board. So you get authorized in advance. To me, that's send an email around and say, or, this setting that you get our approval. We all know basically. The contractor, or insurance, whatever that is, everybody else is sort of. So it's sufficient just to email everybody. I think it is. It doesn't state formal mechanism, so to me, others can.
Yeah, I personally agree with this. This is common sense, it's ethics, the way I was raised. I don't have any problem. I'll sign it. I haven't had a chance to sign it yet. I haven't given
It
it
will
up.
be at the June meeting that I'll have signature pages for everybody.
But I'll sign it. Further than that, I pledge that I will maintain all of these tenants and their tenants and their guidelines. We don't have the authority to ostracize anybody in our community and be teeth to do anything about it. But in the light of transparency, which is one of the issues that this whole last election was about, as you know, in the light of transparency, I think it is incumbent upon the board, all the board members, to state where they stand on this and what they will do if they're a part of this that they do not agree with. Homeowners need to know that. So I'm stating that right now. I will adhere by this, and I'll sign it.
Yeah, and I appreciate everyone adhering to a code of ethics. That's common sense. We all want to do that. I have a couple issues with this document. I'm not asked to sign it, but I'm just saying for someone who reviewed them in my job and advised my clients is what to sign and not sign. One item in there that I don't know how it would be very difficult to monitor and into is you're agreeing to comply with known or unknown issues, conflicts. How can you possibly comply with an unknown conflict? It's unknown. It's unknowing. You didn't do it on purpose. It is unknown. That to me is a big triple for someone on the board to fall into. I wouldn't personally want to be liable for an unknown conflict of interest. And another one, to your point, Jim, I think at the end of that document, the last maybe 3 paragraphs or so, talks about the board being able to take a unilateral action against the board member without input from the community. I'm not sure that's the way we want to be. Those are my 2 concerns. We should be ethical, absolutely agree with it, But I think this thing's a little overreaching in those two areas.
Were there some, unknowns in there?
I mean, it says you're gonna, if I remember right, it's been a few days since I read it, but there's this paragraph in there that says you will not be in breach, to my word, you will not be in breach of conflicts, known or unknown.
I saw that too, and I read through it, and I forgot to mention that, but I thought that was.
It's very, I mean, you can't, if you don't know, you didn't do it intentionally, you have a third cousin on your mother's side that doesn't, you didn't know.
Yeah, the thing I noticed when I read through it was that it looks like the code was written to basically cover sort of, to use the phrase, two generations. So parents and grandparents, brothers, aunts and uncles, but, past that, I mean, somebody could have my name and I don't know them and they may have some conflict. My only issue is, and I think it's probably covered elsewhere in our bylaws, but my only issue is the question of if there is a conflict that comes up, whether use me as an example, if I find it or somebody else points it out, then I should be recused from decisions around that conflict.
That's correct, and that is already covered in the Texas property code.
So as I understand it, yes.
One of the things that the document says, and you can change it, or you can agree to accept somebody saying something. Texas property code allows the board to do business with anyone, including board members. However, if they're doing any kind of business with a board member, that board member has to recuse themselves from voting. They are not allowed to see another bid from a competitor that they're bidding against, and they're not allowed to vote on it. That's how they remove themselves from a conflict of interest. If they're actually bidding, if you were a contractor bidding on doing some repairs, you would not be able to see your competitor's bid. You would have to advise the board that you are bidding, open to doing that, and you would not be able to vote or comment on it. That's pretty typical, but it's covered in the Texas property code. So my reason, and I told just so everybody else knows that here, if you don't know it already, I refuse to sign the document. And I refused to sign the document because of attorney advice that I got, some of which Julie is reiterating, but it had to do with unknown relatives, unknown issues that could come up that I have no control over. It also limits, and one of the questions you were asking about contact. Any homeowner has the right, and we can't stop them from talking to anybody that we're contracting with or who works on the premises. We can't stop them. It's their job, it's their money, it's their property. The document says we can't do that unless the board approves. It limits the ability of the board to function in a capacity in which any homeowner who's not on the
Sure. So I'll give you a counter, not an example, but a kind of situation in which one of us decides we want to go talk to a current vendor. Yes. And that communication results in additional cost to the HOA. That's a cost that the board, as representatives of the homeowners, did not agree to incur. So that's my big concern is if we don't apply a limit to how much, basically the authority of a board member to go speak on behalf of the board of the HOA, if there's not control over that, then we can incur costs that we are then liable for that we had no agreement that we were going to accept. And that's my concern.
Well, you're supposed to have contracts. If as a board member I go and talk to anybody, as long as I'm not talking with the authority of the board,
Yes.
then that's fine. You do whatever you want. But it's when you start saying that I'm a board member and I'm talking on behalf of the board, then that's a different story.
You represent us. I mean, yes, I think that common sense and our own personal ethics and how we do things. I don't believe the way it's written in here is the best way for us. And I'm relying on some. Well, I have a lot of things that I went through and offered.
Well, maybe we can talk about that at some point.
I'd be happy to send it to you if you'd like to see it. I mean, my personal opinion is that we have to work this out here with the homeowners. I'm not trying to hide anything from them. And the other, what Julie references, there are some paragraphs in here that tolerates the removal of somebody from the board. The action that it provides for the board to say that the board member has done something that they think is in violation of the board will vote on that after the person has made their presentation. The board votes on it within a closed number, and then they will advise the community, and one of the results is that person is thrown off the board. Our bylaws allow the homeowners, regardless of whether it's for cause or no cause, they don't have to have a reason. The homeowners can present a proposal that someone should be doing, and that is always existed. I think this goes beyond that, and this it's a pretty spectacular, but it's a small number of people that get it. Let me tell you, I have no problem with conduct or ethics, conflict of interest. I honestly believe all of it that is covered in here is covered by either our own documents, bylaws, our CNRs, and 209 Texas Property Code. If you wanted something different, this one is written more like a procedure that you follow as opposed to a policy. Generally, I think the policy being more than what we represent, what we want Bell Harbor to represent, as far as being an honest and open community.
What we do, not how we do.
Exactly, what we do, not how we do. It could be redrafted. That might be the answer, or done away with, or left in place. I'm just saying that I don't agree with it, and and just so it's clarified, after it came up the first time, and we were asked to sign it, and I didn't sign it, we had a meeting with Mr. Priest in his office, and the current executive officers, which Dan was there, Lori was there, and Rob was there. And somebody was missing. Who was missing? Oh, Dave Marks was not able to make it. We had a meeting in his office to discuss if somebody chooses not to sign it, are there any consequences? And is essentially, and correct me if I'm not stating it wrong, but he said that the consequences are with the homeowners. If they choose to remove you or talk to you, I mean, you have to answer to them, and that was essentially where we left. So I haven't changed my mind, but that's why it's an individual option for everybody who's on.
If only,
Yeah.
so, some standard. That's probably, sounds like it's something I need to through, but is it fair to say that we all sort of align the idea that something in place that captures the way we can, especially the way we can go with third parties? For my concern is that it's being mentioned, the homeowners and us, but we're representing the community. We're not homeowners. We're on we have a different set of standards we have to hold ourselves to because we speak with the law, we speak with a certain authority that carries, weight. And so we've got to be mindful that what we say to outside authorities can influence them negatively or positively in some way that other members on the board may not necessarily agree with. And so that's the thing we got to get past. We've got to do things together as a standard. Everybody here that communicating with each other, and, especially with these third-party interactions, what we're about to do, what we're planning to do, it's just sort of on the way and supporting those processes. And so that's not having anything just going in bylaws. State law really doesn't capture the true essence of all the kinds of risk. So we've got to find a way to put something in place that, in fact, does protect all of us and the community. So that's my.
So I have a question. You guys signed, the previous board signed this code of ethics, put it into place. Our previous president violated the code of ethics 4 times, and nobody did anything on the board to enforce it. And there's nothing in the current code of ethics really for enforcement. There's no procedure in place for the homeowners to bring that to action. There's nothing that clearly states that with the board, what they're supposed to do to bring it to action. So is this really enforceable or unenforceable?
Our bylaws state that the removal of the board member that is a homeowner vote. So the homeowners can bring it up to a vote.
And that was the comment I was going to make, and what I heard tonight is that it really becomes a homeowner issue. And I don't know anything about 4 separate instances of violation of that, but if the homeowners felt that it was a violation and severe enough to want removal, then it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds to me like that's a homeowner call for vote removal. That's, am I interpreting this correctly?
I think, a homeowner vote for removal of anybody, but it will be, like I said, our documents say with or without cause. You don't have to have a reason. It doesn't have to be a violation of something or bad behavior. It can be for no reason. So I mean, that is an option of the homeowners that they have the right to at any time.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is this is not an issue of enforcement, it's an issue of transparency. The homeowners need to know who we all stand on and why. As long as that's happening.
Steve is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Steve's been trying to say something.
I have a question about the document that I don't know that I've read, well, I have not read this document. But we're not a government agency, right? My question is, well, first off, do the employees of Val Harbor have to sign a similar document, number 1? Number 2, why is it one?
Because we've covered it a lot. Yeah, I've heard it a lot.
The second thing is, does this give us the opportunity, and I'm going to use this word, to shop a bid? Like if we get a roof bid, we go out to 5 different companies, and one company is higher than another, can we go to that company and say, hey, if it's somebody Rick likes better, does he have the option to come to the company that he likes better and say, hey, if you get your number here, we'll use you instead of these guys? I don't know if this document has that or not. That is not illegal. I practice that every day in my construction. When I have a company I like and their bid is high, I will go to them and say, hey man, the bid's high, if you get to this number, you can have the job. If you don't get the job. Because I want what's best for me as an employee. I mean, as a citizen of Val Harbor. Sure. I don't want what's fair to the contractor. I don't care what's fair to the contractor necessarily. They're giving me the same stuff, the same quality, the same everything. I'd rather Rick get to use somebody he wants to use, even if they're higher, by telling them what the number is. Does this document prevent us from, when you use the word shopping the bid? Because to me, that's what your job is.
When you say us, what do you mean, the board?
The board, yes.
Okay.
And or Rick.
So, they're not preventing.
No, I think we talked about more of the confidentiality that we've addressed with when Ralph was presenting bids on the bulkheads, he said it's confidential. Other issues with confidential documents that
Yes.
they address. This particular contractor, this policy does not address that at all.
Because-
So
Because every single meeting, you would come in here and Roth was saying, I've got 5 bids, I can't tell you what they are. Nobody can know what they are. That is not open. That's my whole problem with transparency. Why weren't we told what the bids were, who the companies were bidding? And if that document was inspected, I'm going to inspect that document 100%.
Well, and I understand that if you're bidding, the contractor bids with you, their bid is confidential. That's why the other contractors need to know.
We're always been
Why?
confident, it's been that way for 30 years, really.
Why?
Could you imagine all contractors that put a bid into Val Harbor have every one of their bids out for the whole neighborhood?
Who cares?
Oh, no.
We care. Why?
You'll never
I
get
don't
contractors
think
to bid
that's-
then.
That's not
Yeah.
true. I do it every day. So far, it's not true.
I can just tell you what my experience is, it is.
It's called competition.
Gentlemen, first talk, let's keep it one person at a time, please.
Thank you.
Okay. To me, the whole problem, and we can bring up all situations that you want to, and we can sit here and talk about this forever. But I think the main thing that we're interested in is for you to come up with a code of ethics that you all agree on. I think as homeowners, we need to trust every one of them. We don't need to have 2 or 3 or whatever on this page and somebody else on this page. You all need to be on the same page, and we have to have faith in you that you are going to follow those code of ethics. And I don't think it needs to be, somebody doesn't agree with this, so they come up with something you can agree on. And that's the way I'm doing it. You all have to agree on it, so that we know that.
I think, Steve, with what you were saying is, I think that would be up to me when we get bids and present them. I can go to the board and say, and I think I should be able to say, you know what, they're a little bit higher. Is there any problem with me talking to them? I'd rather use them. If you could compete with the price
Yes.
that everybody's happy with,
That's what's best for us.
give me the right to, talk to them about it.
The issue still is bids. When you have hard times getting bids, if I'm bidding, when I'm bidding and I know my client is taking my prices to the others, I'm not gonna bid that guy. That's the same thing with them. They know if we're just cheering on that, he's not gonna bid for you. And we have a hard time getting bidders.
But after the bids were done, you could have come here and said, here's our 5 bids, here's who did them, here's how much they are, and here's what we're getting. But we never saw that involved.
But at the point of decision, that would be.
But we never saw it.
Well, there was a special assessor that actually was still dating bids, correct?
I have, he's right in a way, is the flow in our bidding, we have not set a firm bid line beyond which point we don't take any more bids. No, we need to add that. If we have a full bid line, any bids after that, it's flowing.
I don't even think we need to get the best deal for us, whatever that is and how that.
Well, it's a bad deal if our bidders know that we divulge their prices to everybody. They don't like that. They don't mind not getting the job because they didn't bid it right, but they don't want their items shown to everybody in the world. Most bidders don't like that. I'm within in my business. I don't know if your business, but we provide services with videos, photos, proposal. If he divulged my price and scheme and all that to everybody else, I give him a price, and he can tell me, I'm not gonna give you a job because the price is not high. I take it. But he takes all my details and stuff and pass them on. I'm not gonna bid for you. Like I said, that's my opinion.
But we have to collect the bids, and we even rely on Rick and some of the other engineers on our board to make a decision about which is the best contract to go with. And at that point, then, obviously, that has to be open to everybody. But not while we're taking bids still.
No, obviously, the bids would be done. We would know there are 5 bids, 5 prices. We should be able to see those 5 bids and those 5 prices.
After
We
the
should
fact.
be able to see those, and we did not get them. And my question is,
Can't speak to that.
I mean,
But you have elected 9 people to 400, and they have seen, all of them have seen it, and dissected it, analyzed it, and agreed on one. So what I'm saying is just, it's not the formula once you see it, it's just the one of bidders to get hurt in their business.
like I said, why are we taking better care of the bidders than we are taking care of ourselves? That's to me is transparency. If I had seen 5 bids, 5 companies, and I had known what those bids were, that's transparent to me. But I called beforehand and said, can I come look at the contract before it's signed? You'd already agreed, the old board had already agreed on a contract, and I said, can I see the contract before it's signed? And the answer to me was no, and I'm freaking paying for it. That's what I have a problem with. I'm paying for it.
You can't, I'm sorry, it's a fact of business.
I think one of the things that, and Ralph brought it up, is the idea that there's a deadline for bids. And Ralph did analysis of the bids, and I haven't seen his analysis either. I trust Ralph, and I'm pretty sure he did a really good job of it. But at that point, once the bids are closed, then
it's okay.
then the work's done. I mean, that part's done. You can't affect somebody else's bid. I guess my only concern is when we define that deadline for the project and we get the bids, now we do the analysis. If we come back in and reopen it up for other bids, then that's not good business practice. It's not good ethics. So, I mean, I agree with you. You need to see that because that's the analysis of the people that were compliant with the requirements of the project. And you get to see what their prices are. And all the homeowners, you're right. You guys pay for it. I pay for it. We all pay for it. So understanding what those prices are, I'm fine with that.
As long as we have a deadline and we adhere to the deadline.
Yes. So the project should follow that process. So if there's a deadline for bids, when that's done, then we make the analysis and sure, at that point, it's not a problem at all. I mean, would that satisfy you, Steve?
That would be a long way down the road.
Why better, I have a question. I'm locating for all the bids that we did receive. Are they all apples to apples or are they apples to apples? For the design project,
The goal is to have an apple to apple, and it's very difficult to get that with the top of top contractors we have. He always wants to insert his own way of doing things against what we asked for. But at the end of the day, we made at least 3 or 4 of them that are the ballpark figure apple to apple. Actually, we'll talk today maybe about the last one. It took us 2 or 3 iterations from the guy to make sure that he's insisting on bidding on the same apple. They all tend to want to bid on what they can do better, not the other guy, not what we asked for. So yes, the whole should be apple to apple.
Okay, so do we go to conduct?
Say we're all talking.
Yes.
But that was next on the list. Okay.
So I move
Go to
I
conduct.
move to table the code of conduct discussion. I think we need to discuss what improvements or changes could be recommended.
Again, is that going to be, we have some individuals on the board who will work on that?
We've got it on the agenda, so.
No, I mean, as far as developing something different, we're going to table it tonight, but we can do that, and it's going to have to be redrafted by group limit committee, waiting to do that, and then brought back to the board.
We have, as happened before, we have asked comments from the whole board. And the comments we got advice. So if anybody will just put them again, if anybody has any other comments or change that wants to be done, I'll volunteer.
But I think we all probably need to engage and in specific points of the struggle, so we can find a path forward.
What I'm gonna ask is that we not demonstrate in that. We can't continue to come and do this, it needs to be done at a meeting. So if we want to work on a draft and bring it back, number is, something that everyone here needs to know and the board needs to know. I'm a firm believer in acting in that open meeting 209, not doing business privately or by email without being in front of the homeowners.
It's electronic.
The electronic requires that everybody has access to the electronics at the time that they're meeting.
Stuff like that.
No, you can't have an open board meeting electronically like email. Because it doesn't let the audience here do it. Whoever is interested in doing it doesn't appraise them of the conversation.
Is it appropriate to have a board workshop?
The law says that if you have a quorum of your board, you are having an official meeting.
Okay.
You can get outside of the fact you can have a party or a social gathering, and as long as you're not discussing board business, that's allowed. But if you're discussing board business, it's supposed to be an open meeting.
And I want everything to be over, but I don't know if we have a meeting, and it's gonna take time. You know, and
It's unfortunate.
Yes. Well, almost an hour and a half into it, we're already on the second
right.
item on our list. That's
So
what,
what's
that kind of transparency.
How do we do
time.
Again, I can say that there can be a subcommittee of less than a quorum, but if they want to work on it, to try and develop something different. I know I'm the only one that's opposed to it at this point, and you can go forward with the code the way it is and sign it. I cannot sign it, and it's really up to you and the rest of the homeowners if you decide that that's not acceptable.
Well, I would rather have a code that's acceptable to the board. So I suggest that we assign a committee to work on that. Would you be willing to share that to me?
You want to be part of that?
Yeah.
Great success. Is there any way that we can find out why you're against it specifically? And then if we're saying, I don't know if the new people have seen it and agree or what, but it seems like we're making a bigger deal out of this. If the majority of people have already agreed, can you let us know why you don't agree and what they can do to make you agree? What changes?
What I've said before, first of all, I'm taking the advice of counsel, first of all, that says this goes beyond, it puts me at risk as far as anything that we do on the board if we go beyond what the law requires. That's the first thing. I take that seriously. The other things that are in here, some of them when we're talking about unknown relatives and unknown issues, I wrote 5 pages of notes that I presented, but none of those were deemed to be incorporated. So I don't know if we have a stumbling block there. And I hate to say this, yes, there are times I'm pretty stubborn individual. This is one of them. If I don't believe I can live up to something, I'm not going to sign it. I have faith in my own abilities as far as ethics and integrity that I don't think I have broached or broken in any way, and I just don't think it should be signed. So I'd have to give you my 5 pages of notes that I've got on it. It's probably not the thing to write. Yes, sir.
Quick question on process. If we move to create a subcommittee to work on this, there's a lot of good comments from some of the homeowners tonight about things they've seen. Is it possible to have those homeowners participate in the subcommittee meeting to help steer what the final word product is.
I think if there's anyone out there who would like to do that, be more than welcome. It's a document, in my opinion, it should be a document that the homeowners, the board, the staff support and believe in and move forward.
Yes.
And I don't think it needs to be a separate one for homeowners or staff or board. I think it's one document that covers the desires of all of those people and deals with the issues.
In the end, we're a community, and we should all have a communal spirit in how we work together, and that's the document should support that. I'm all in favor of that.
So we, so if you make a motion to form a subcommittee to review everybody's comments, I don't know if I saw all of your comments or not.
They were part of the email strings, but they could have been lost.
So we can get all those together and get some people signed to it.
And I would like specifically ask if there's anybody here tonight that would want to get on that and work.
Since I opened my mouth earlier, probably.
That'll get you.
Thank you.
I'm not a thought, and I think that's a great idea, but I think we're limiting it to this group. I think we need
Any
to put it out.
homeowner who is,
But it needs to be put out,
Yes.
put out.
well, the document itself has, I know Joy has
Minutes.
distributed it because it has been recorded and it's now in our CNRs and it's been sent out and distributed to everybody.
Right.
You may or may not have recognized it for what it was when it came. We can certainly have Joy reach out to the homeowners again and say, if there's somebody who would like to work, developing a better product. I use the word better, but a different product. But,
Right. Yeah, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure we put it out to others that may be interested, maybe not, but yeah.
I'm looking at the application very interested about the deep tonight, so
Okay, so
even on a rainy night.
I'm going to make a motion to table the two and basically with one subcommittee.
And I would say that we try and do that and as soon as possible so that we can resolve it as an issue. That's right.
Second there, or
Second.
Is there any more comments? Can we vote? If I vote no, can you put everybody who's in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion carries. The third item on the agenda was the update on the discussion of bulkheads and special assessment. I don't know how we have a particular update on that unless you're
Well, 2 minutes briefing is we as a board elected to go up to the special assessment. For this reason, we don't have any money. The board approved unanimously to go up to $3,500. Special assessment tools, bulkhead repairs that need to be repaired immediately. We have identified the scope of work. We around $3,500. We have received bids, and we were ready to last months to vote on starting the special assessment procedure. That's where we are. I think unless the board change their mind on special assessment, the amount of special assessment, the scope of special assessment, we have a scope, we have number, we have some bids pretty close to what we were planning.
I'm going to comment on this only because one of the comments that came up among the homeowners in the committee before last, they suggested when there was some issues like this, that they went out for a consulting engineer. Walt is an engineer, but they were talking about an engineer who stamped the documents with their engineering degree as far as what we need to do. what our current condition is on all of the bulkheads, not just the small section of the park. I really would like to promote that is a good idea, because with that, we don't have, I don't believe we have information that we can present to the homeowners today is going to convince everyone that they have to go for a special safety. We have a consulting engineer who will stand behind what they evaluate as being the current condition, the expected life, and the recommendation for moving forward in sections of how to do that. Help give them.
As I said that, you want somebody to come in and tell us if we have a bulkhead that we can listen it.
I'm saying assess the value of the current condition of sections, all the entire 5,000 square feet, not just
Okay, I mean, just for arguments, we have 5,000 linear feet of bulkhead in different phases of wear and tear or collapse. And I'm an engineer and I do that still. If you ask me to come assess that, I'm going to give you an assessment, and it's going to cost about $1.5 million, $2 million, which we can do. We can get it and get it done. To fix what we have is going to be more than $1.5 million, $2 million. We can do that and pay somebody $50,000, $100,000 to tell you that. That's one. Two, now we're trying to get something fixed for almost $600,000-$700,000, which is a fraction of what we know needs to be done. Now, today, running out of money today, why you want to stop the whole thing? And you all voted for special assessment. I have some ideas about it, but and go ahead and Carroll study and all that does not help us anything today. You're going to tell us what we know.
Well, my opinion is that we get, and talking to a couple of engineering firms, because I just want to find out what the range might be on cost. Generally speaking, it was about $10,000. But there was no commitment made on any of it. It was just, they said, if we invited you to do this, would be great presentation, tell us what you would do, what it would cost. I believe.
But what is the result of the study? It's going to cost money. It's going to be much more than $10,000 if he knows what he's doing.
So this was just the assessment in the report and give us a timeline of what they recommended. If it came back and the timeline says that we have zero light left in 5,000 linear feet of bulkhead, we can't ignore that information.
What are you going to do with it?
I have a comment. If you take the credentials of the person that you may want to look at, and you put them up beside Ralph's credentials, they'll have a hard time coming up with as good a credentials as he has. You ever looked at his resume? You ever seen all the things that he's done in terms of bulkheads and wharves and all of that stuff all over the world? Why would we pay somebody extra when we have an expert right here on the board? I don't get it.
Yes, please.
We've got a couple of people that have asked, where are the numbers? How do we come up with $3,500? And why don't we know the total replacement cost versus what we have gotten internally? You want me to tell you who asked the questions? Or
No, that's not important. I think the questions are questions that I've heard from the homeowner personally, which is what I was hoping to resolve by having a study done that is done by somebody who is a structural engineer, marine engineer, to give us those answers of what needs to be done, what our life is left on, what the total cost might be. If we were talking about today's dollars. Rick put out an estimate a year and a half ago on some of that. And we're talking definitely over $2.5 million for the whole project. And that has probably changed a lot based on today because of cost increases in that. I have heard many times homeowners say, what is the total project and how how do you plan on getting it done?
That's, it's information that we can get out, somebody can get out. What this has to do with, let me get back to the question. You all elected to go for a special assessment. Should we proceed with that or not proceed with that? Are we trying to get sidetracked in so many studies that tell us something that does not add anything to the need? Do we have to have a special assessment? Do we need a special assessment? Or are we questioning the need of having a special assessment? That's the essence of it.
From my opinion, yes, we need a special assessment, but I don't think we can present the information to the community that's gonna get it passed. And if it doesn't pass, the money that we spend is gonna come out of reserves, and that puts us in worse financial condition than we are already, but much more limited.
And you're having an engineer that comes in, and we have 6 other engineers here that are very well qualified. They will come tell you, yes, you need $2 million. How is this going to help the situation of getting the money? Yeah.
Well, yes, and one of the issues that hasn't been mentioned, and that if everybody's looking for quote unquote transparency, is we don't have a lot of time. We have a homeowner who is willing to go legally if he doesn't get his bulkhead handled, okay? So we have that. And he was nice enough to say, well, I'll give you 90 days to know that something has happened, okay? And so, again, what I said, we already voted on this, and we can look into all the details, and you'll hear a homeowner say anything. I mean, we got all these homeowners, you're gonna get a lot of different viewpoints, okay? But, we have that timeline. We don't have time to listen to all these other things. We've gone over them, we know what we wanted. They wanna know how we decided on 3,500. It was what's known as a wild ass guess of what we might be able to get, okay? Because we know that the homeowners voted against this other thing. We're trying to come up with a figure that will actually carry something so we can get something. Not nearly what we need, just something. That's how we got that number, okay? And sorry, I guess it's okay to say wild ass in these meetings, but
We always say that.
yeah, a wag, but nobody knows what it means unless you know. Anyway, so that's how we got it. So to answer that question, I'm not in favor of dragging this out. We just set a date and do it and see if it happens. I have my concerns that the homeowners will pay for anything anyway. And that was voiced in all our budget meetings, not board meetings, but budget meetings. So it wasn't any, backroom stuff. They were budget meetings. And everybody was going, I don't know if they'll pay us or not, and we also, I've been trying to figure out the number of the people that voted in this election to get a very significant idea about people's involvement as we talk about the homeowners. But it wasn't 100%, I'll tell you that, and it may not even been 50%. Okay, so that's another guess, but it's a pretty good guess, educated. And so we had less than half the people interested in voting in an election that was extremely important. Okay, this is the problem. It's not engineering. It's not the board. It's homeowners' interest and getting and understanding the necessity level of what we're looking at. And right now, homeowners need to know. Everybody raise their hand. Who knew we were going to get sued if we don't fix somebody's bulkhead? 2, 3, 4. But you're a board member. And you. Okay. So now. Now you all know. Okay. That's transparency. Okay. So we don't have time. I don't think we have time. We need to act, and we need to see if we can drive the homeowners, not experts. We need the homeowners. That's my big. So,
And I think the $3,500 comes more from what we looked at as far as what's the worst bulkhead, what bulkhead can we do that's coming on and going to be in the same shape as that other, and this is going to give us some time to put more money into roofs, and it's going to take care of our bulkhead problem right now. So I think the money that we were talking about is pretty specific on what we looked at.
When reading our bylaw, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it says, I think, for a special assessment, there has to be for a specific item, specific product. We don't have a specific product. We've got a guess. And if I'm reading the bylaws wrong, tell me, but the bylaw says a special assessment has to be for a special project. And in order to have a special project to establish the assessment, you gotta have a bid and know what the amount is. And as far as I know, we would take that amount, whatever it is, divide it by 237, and that would be the assessment. Now, the other thing I'd like to see is that figure comes up, whatever it is, $7,000, break it into three payments. But am I wrong?
You're correct in saying that the special assessment has to be for a identified common property project. It's been identified that we have a failure that needs to be fixed in bulkheads. The amount of that assessment, essentially the way the board is looking at doing it is taking the highest amount they think that we can raise, and dividing that over the number of over 5,000 linear feet. So you can only do it a portion.
That's a guess.
It's not a guess.
It's not a firm.
It comes down to a lineal foot cost of what they're estimating the.
Well, I think the bylaws require you to have a firm price, not a guess.
I think that
We have a firm prices, we have bids, we have been
You have a
received.
firm price?
Yes, we have received bids.
What is it? What is the firm price?
So they're still haven't really picked from 3 of them, but
We have 3 bids.
What is the firm price?
We want to know the lowest price is about, we have the specific number.
Well, probably well, looking that up. I want to make a comment. We do have. Speak up, please. Yeah, we do have quite a few professional engineers. I know that Ron has been talking to KCU and maybe others I'm not aware of. It'd be wonderful to have the homeowners who have the expertise to help review this situation. I know KC's been looking at it. If you had any concerns, KC, other than getting it done? Do we have a firm price?
We have several prices, they all range around $850,000.
Okay, what is the lowest firm price?
$846,850.
Okay, and divide that by 237. What is that?
$3,560.
How much?
$3,567.
The other thing I would like to recommend, I think this gentleman brought it up. I think if we take bids and Rick looks at them and he thinks that somebody can do a better job than the lowest bidder, I think Rick should be able to come to the board and say, here's proposition X, it's the lowest bid, but here we got proposition Y, that we've dealt with, he's a little bit higher, but I think he's more reliable than this other guy. I would like the board to give me permission, offer our favorite guy at full price. And we discussed that. All we got is a bunch of, I didn't hear an answer. So, but anyway, to conclude, I think before you can ask for a special assessment, you gotta have a firm price on the guy you want to use. And I think Rich would be wholly and more involved in that than really the board. I think the board needs to take Rich. Let me finish.
Very involved.
Let me finish. I think the board should be able to take Rick's recommendation on what it is. Once you've got that figure, then you've got a firm figure. You can come to the homeowners and ask for that special assessment. Now I'm through. Go ahead.
There was some other questions there.
I just wanted to say that in the ideal world, which we're not in right now in Bell Harbor, that we would get all these consultants to look and judge what should be going on. All the homeowners have said that they don't have the money or don't want to pay the extra money. So we have, I know I read the bios of the people running for the board. My gosh, y'all are so talented. You've got so much experience, and so are the ones that went off the board just now. And I just think we've got Raouf, who has done this job his whole career. Why don't we go with it? Why do we want to spend more money? Because I think if you had the whole group of homeowners in here, and we know the urgency of getting it done now, we wouldn't want to wait and have other people come and have a look and say the same thing that needs to be done. I'm really confused on that.
I've listened to all of this, and I have had access before today through Al and Rick about the situation with regard to bulkheads. As the lady pointed out back here, we have more than enough expertise right sitting around here in terms of the bulkheads that we don't need any more discussion in terms of that. The spec is out there. I've reviewed it. I am an engineer, both structural and civil, and have a lot of experience with bulkheads and have reviewed all of that. I'm a homeowner, but there's one heck of a lot of homeowners out there that don't know anything about what's going on. When I heard the $3,500, perked up my ears. And this isn't the first meeting I've attended. I've been here since 1981 and have seen a lot of meetings and a lot of problems. And I want to say right now, I want to personally thank everybody that was on the board last time and is on now to bring this to light, because it's been sitting there and somebody has been saying things look pretty good, and that isn't the case. Okay, so now we know that. Right, in tune with what I've heard here tonight. You have the professional experience to make the judgment right now. In fact, in Al's mind, he has made that judgment. Don't need anybody else from the outside. That would be a waste of money. On the other hand, I have heard about the 300 feet, went down and looked at it, understand that, now understand that it's being paid by the budget. And reasons for that, and not being in the appraisal. When it comes to the $3,500 assessment, if we're going to go with that, we have to get it out in black and white ahead of time what it does. maybe some people here don't even know what a bulkhead is. In terms of really knowing what a bulkhead is and what it does. Well, let's get that information to those people so they at least, if they turn it down, they know what they're turning down. Because I'm not sure that they will. We've got a big job to get this approved. Not just the $3,500, but to get the money to do the bulkheads. That's what's important. And I'm sure that most people, certainly those off the water, don't appreciate what those bulkheads are doing. And what they have to continue to do, or we'll all walk out of here with no money in our pocket.
NFL built broken. Petty backbiting is not going to get this done, and slowing this thing up is not going to get anything done.
The question is, how do we present the facts sufficiently to inform all of the 237 homeowners of what's required, and answer the questions of, if we do this section now, and we're doing 300 feet, and we do something else additional, how are we going to get there with the rest of it, and how soon is it going to be done? Those things need to be put into writing somewhere by somebody to make a projection, not just for today, but moving forward, a longer term projection. And I don't think we're going to pass an assessment unless most of the homeowners understand that and know what's coming and how we plan on addressing it.
I think, and I think it's been said ways, but that additional information that needs to come that sort of fills the blanks on what's left to be done following the assessment. I think that's going to come relatively soon anyway. I know what we think we can forecast the rest and do a evaluation of current status of the balance of the bulkheads following the assessment. But I don't think that's a massive undertaking, and quite frankly, I agree. It's a good question to have. We've got 829,500 or something that would come from the $3,500 assessment. We can point today, it's been identified on exactly where that work needs to be done. Anyone can walk around on any part of these bulkheads and look themselves and see that these bulkheads are sharp. You can see through it. And so there's no rocket science or marine engineering that would tell me anything different. And I've got to pull those boards out and put new ones in. But I do agree, the balance of what's needed as a follow-on when that's going to happen, we need to focus that. And so I don't think, again, on that, what I'm saying is I don't think we need a marine engineer really to do that. I think in-house we have that capability, and we can do it, just do that with the information package, with the assessment, or is that a follow-on? So it's all time driven, as said by other board members. We've got to get the rest of this assessment work started this year, because there's high-risk property that needs to be repaired. The rest of it, I think, is really very near term, but I don't think, another study is going to help us answer those questions.
There's a chat question asking for the RFP to be publicly provided. Is that possible?
Right now, there is not really an RFP that I think we can get out to. There are some specs that were developed by Roth as far as going forward that I've seen.
We have specification that requires all the details of the proposal. And it's available.
Is there a deadline for the RFP?
Yes.
I'm going to say we've got this document just available that we can send out to all the homeowners. I mean, I'm an engineer. I can look at this and read it and understand it nearly implicitly. I don't know if this is,
I don't know if it's been a
We
lot
don't
of
have
that
it.
work.
Everybody has it.
Well, it's the community doesn't. And that's, I guess, the question.
As soon as that details the specific part, as soon as the board we go out for the assessment, then information will be presented with request assessment. But we don't know if the board will approve 800 feet, or 1,000 feet, or 200 feet. This is what we're trying to, we approve the quantities, we approve how much and how long, except we did not vote on preparing the package to go out to the plants. We need to start the mechanism to do that, or we're not going in.
I don't think we're gonna go anywhere if we don't let the homeowners know what the assessment, send that out and let them know.
Don't we have to have special assessment?
We have to have a special.
So that would come, I think, that communication, we would need to put that, by the time we have some kind of, at least a forecast.
What is that?
A forecast of the work. But we have
What do you call forecast, money or time? The money we have. We've done it several times.
To do the rest of it.
Yeah, we can, this is like 1 hour work.
5,000 feet.
We have all, that. We've done all that. We have presented all of that in the last books. Yeah, it was presented how much we need to do the work, and the number was up 2 million something.
It's about 2 million something, but these are numbers that are in Europe. I mean, I
Well,
know.
we have the new numbers, but we have not done the presentation yet.
I think that presentation, all I'm saying is that presentation needs to be, coincide with the request for money, because if
Yes.
people don't understand that, they're not gonna vote.
That's a procedure we've done before, I'm gonna do.
When would be first time we do the presentation?
Well, as soon as we approve to go after it. And then we'll set the deadline, we set the dates, and we set the meetings.
No, I'm sorry, I'm gonna take exception to that, because we can do a special assessment. We want to do it after we've seen what the total number is and what the process is for the next several years. I think as a board, at least, and the homeowners, we should have some idea what that is before we want us to approve moving forward.
You mean before the board approves the special assessment?
We approved going out for a special assessment for a long time ago.
Yeah, but we are not approved proceeding with it. We were last month, we were gonna vote on it to go ahead and start and set up the dates. And we prepared the presentation.
So we have to do that.
Matt, sorry, no, it's okay. It's okay. I can wait. I can wait.
Yeah. The other issue is, and one of the elephant in the room, is that we have to have 60% of homeowners vote yes. If 60% of the homeowners don't vote at all, it's a moot point. So our biggest job is, once we get all this done, our biggest job is making sure somehow that the homeowners get the information and are interested enough in this whole issue to actually come out and vote, or give somebody their proxy or something. Because let's face it, 60% of the homeowners are not all going to vote yes. So that means we got to have a significantly larger number of the homeowners who are embedded in this community enough to vote. That's an issue. And we have to solve that issue, because no matter what we do, if we don't get the homeowners out to vote, it's not going to work.
I think it was suggested by Julie that she said a long time ago when they redid the, I think bylaws, the then board had to go door to door and communicate with all the homeowners. And bylaws did not involve any radical changes. It did not involve money from the homeowners. But in order to get there, like what you write to me, I'm not going to have.
Rick spent a lot of time on boards.
So I mean, the vote is a definite issue. From what I've heard, and this is, it's just what I'm hearing, and different people hear different things. If we don't have a full plan in front of somebody before we start asking them for money, we're not going to get it.
And you're right.
And I'm just saying, what is that thing?
To fix the bulkhead.
No, it's the money. The plan has to do with how much money it's gonna take, how it is, over what time period. And are we going to-
Surely anybody with common sense can see that 3,500 minimum is going to be needed to get this done.
And how many-
Minimum.
what happens after that 3,500? I mean, that's the question. And I'm sorry, 3,500, if it takes care of 1,000 or 5,000, it's what it's back for.
I don't even know about it. No, I don't see this the way you do, Barbara. That information needs to be known, but to me, it's like somebody just got smashed and hit with a car, he's bleeding out, and you want to talk about whether we should put a stop sign at that crossroads. That's a good thing to find out later. Yeah, we need to, but we have someone that, and we have to consider interest level too. And point in case was the amount of people that voted in the election. Yes, homeowners should know what the big picture is going to be over a long time, but, and I've said this before in the budget meetings, these were budget meetings, not board meetings, that a lot of people can't see that far. You can see that far. You are amazing how far you can see. I can't see that far. I can see as far as my neighbor across the way who's has already spent a few $1,000s on legal fees. You know, that's what I can see, okay? And I want to handle that because he has every right to do it because his bulkhead hasn't been repaired. And as you said, the figures that we had are a year and a half old. Well, they're a year and a half old because we're dragging our feet. That's why they're a year and a half old. We just need to get this emergency done and then do the next one, which we are obligated to do by everybody says the CNRs. Yes, the CNRs say we are obligated to fix common ground before we fix anything else, okay? And so we need to do that. So we can't dance around it. My guess is, this is just my guess because only by what we've seen in the turnout in voting, is that homeowners need to know, but half of them don't even want to know, okay? And so if we wait to come up with a bulkheads for dummies, which we can write, you know, because I can't understand that, and he can, which is good, but I can't even understand it. I can, when we talk about it, I can. That is these figures, because I'm not an engineer. But I know when something needs to be fixed, you gotta get it fixed, you know, and you can't talk and talk and talk about it, okay? And we already decided all this stuff. To me, it was all decided. And unless the new members have a disagreement on it, then we should just vote on it. You know, just have, and I'm willing to make a motion to, whenever the discussion is done, I'm willing to make a motion to go ahead and set a date for that special assessment, get as much information out as possible, and see what we can do. But the rest of it is just chatter until we find out what the homeowners are willing to do. I'm sorry, that's the way I see it. Okay.
That's an excellent point. Why don't we just do it? Why don't we, out of this meeting, set a date for the assessment to be put out to the public so that they can consider it? Because I have here with me a handout that I'm going to give to all of the board members and Rick and Joy. It's going to bring up the next point. It's going to come as soon as we get something done in terms of the assessment. And it's just as important as the assessment. And is it money? It involves money. But we have to do it. And now is the time. If we don't do it now, we will have one heck of a situation going on here in Bell Harbor from this day forward. I guarantee you.
Couple of things. First off, I think if this thing passed, two most respected people in Val Harbor sitting up front, I think if Rick and Joy sign off on a letter saying we know this, I think that would go a long, long way towards people going, you know what, we probably need this, because everybody, I haven't met one person that doesn't trust us. So, it's number one. Yeah, absolutely. The second thing is, I think we have to have some sort of payment options. We've got to give people who are tight fixed income or whatever. When this thing goes out, we have to give people options. I mean, that to me is the most important thing. And I've said before, I'm willing to have a hardship thing where I'll help out or we can help out. I know this community will do that. So I think we have to give options. If you just go, hey, you're going to owe us $3,500. The other thing is, I've seen a map, Walt or Rick, I can't remember. Somebody has a map of Val Harbor, and I think I remember seeing there's red parts and yellow parts. It would be nice to have that come out and say, this is what's going to be addressed first. This is what's coming next. Here's what we need right now. And it's $3,500 or whatever. I mean, $3,500 is already voted on, but let's put it out there and let people know.
That scope of work will go out with the letter and the proxy and everything. So that
hopefully
everybody knows.
hopefully you guys will put the letter together and say,
Yeah.
look, we need this.
Once they pick a date, I will send a mail out that will include all the information of what's coming up. It'll include the map with the scope of work that needs to be done. And
But not just one now. I mean, I think we should say this is red,
Right,
this is
right.
yellow, this is next 3 years, this has got to be done. Because that's what I'm hearing people saying, how much needs to be done, how much is going to cost. So, anyway, but if Rick writes a letter and says, hey, people, we need this, please agree, I think people will do it. And payments, we have to have a payment plan.
Will the community buy me a bulletproof vest?
How about a bulletproof truck?
So Barbara, reinforce Humvee.
There you go.
IED. Yeah, exactly.
So payments are optional.
Yeah.
It's ours.
We need, that's the salt, I'm just very that's the lowest rate. Unless we have.
So, we have a place,
Make a motion on this.
I'll get a place we can set. Well, all the special assessment.
You got enough information? I mean, I think
Actually, 5 minutes discussions, how long is it going to take us to do the fair presentation, how many presentations we worked on? We already agreed on one presentation.
It'll probably need a week or so, just to make sure that we have the packet together. I'm gonna get with the attorney, make sure the letters and everything are ready to go out, so I would. Right, that's what I say, 30 days, plus give us a couple weeks to get that together, then y'all can work on everything else in the years.
So how much?
Is that reasonable? I think so.
So what's the date from today?
Harbour. I issued that feeling that this meeting today is going to be to discuss not just the assessment, but what comes next. And that's just an idea. It's something to consider in our financial situation here. It does not mean there aren't other ideas that perhaps some people have to arrive at the same answer. But we need to face it.
Sorry. Yeah, so whatever they want. The attorney said the meeting was not supposed to be open. It's just supposed to be come in and vote.
This is for the.
For the special assessment that day. Y'all can
Not the
send,
vote.
that's for the vote.
Y'all can set a date in between that time if you wanna
Okay.
have like a meeting, an informational meeting
The
or
mass
something for
works
them.
on the 17th to the 20th.
So pick a date during that week, starting with the 17th.
What days are
June 17th is a Monday, so whatever day that week y'all feel like is best for homeowners to come out and vote. That the attorney said the special assessment meeting is strictly just to vote.
the no meeting, essentially, they get by, or
They just come in and vote.
So, is anybody got any comments on between the 17th?
I had a question, does that give us time to know our proxy?
I just have to have it 30 days out, so that gives us a little over 30 days, so we can work with the attorney to make sure that packet is good and ready to go.
We have the proxy back and forth.
We mail it out, it's up to them, they can bring them in then, or they come in on that date.
Probably the better part.
Just know, for me, I would say the sooner than the 17th. Anytime.
Certainly, everybody has
Voting on that.
We're trying to discuss something here. I can't hear these people with you out there speaking. So please give us a chance, please. Thank you.
Is the Thursday, is the 21st, or is that?
20th.
20th, you want to pick the early Thursday, is that?
Certainly the 20th.
20th, is that agreeable with this, Thursday, the 20th? Have a motion, put that in the motion, let's add that to the motion, if that is the date, for the day. Wait, that's in June. Or do we have a motion stated in a way that is, complete as far as the two?
All you need to do is make a motion that you call the special meeting for the 20th.
For the vote, one point. Do we have somebody make
We
that
need
motion?
to mention the amount.
You can, but it's gonna go out in the
It's
letter.
gonna go out in the letter.
Okay.
That's what it
That's
is.
it. So I second.
Who made the motion?
Matthew.
Matthew?
Well, I would have said I was willing to make.
Okay.
I'm still willing to. So I'll make a motion. So I make the motion that we set the date for the special assessment. That's my motion. That's enough, right? For June 20.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any other discussion? Okay, call for a vote, please.
Aye.
Barbara,
Yes,
I'm sorry, we do have some really good minds here, Federal Assess, that we write, experience, that I'm willing to work with, the technical side of the committee, if that's within the community. And I've got 35 years as a professional engineer, over $1 billion worth of bulkheads and various other industrial commercial. So, but maybe, and I guarantee you that 3,500 will be paid for by one day. That I'm sure. So I want to take in mind, put together a consortium of homeowners, engineers, and have those people put together a request, a recommendation for the homeowners. I think that would carry a lot of weight. There's a lot of engineers in this community that have a lot of knowledge. So we put together some sort of consortium of those people that they can get together and make a recommendation basis on their experience. I think that would carry a lot of weight. Any way you can do that?
I don't see any reason why not, it's just. Yeah, you got-
Somebody do it.
Yeah, it's another one of those, somebody take the lead on this one.
Yeah, I did, well, I had my hand up because, not, someone has to be able to look at what the engineers come up with and see whether it's decipherable by somebody that,
It's not an engineer.
I would probably be sitting there like this if I was in that meeting because they would be throwing out terms that I had no idea what they were. But I think it's a great idea. I just think that somehow or other we have to,
Dumb it down to estimates.
for me, just for me, I'm the one person that doesn't understand. Yeah, I'm the only one. So
You're on the committee.
yeah, I could be, I'm happy to be on the committee, just as long as somebody pokes me if I fall asleep. But I also think that things that are necessary for homeowners to know is the risk they are taking with their property by not repairing it. And I think, I know we have real estate people that know what's, buzzing out there and stuff like that. People are always concerned about property values. That's the big phrase that came out when we were trying to raise the monthly. Property values. Property values will go down if we raise the monthly. Property values go down when your bulkhead goes down. Okay, for sure. And
I don't have money to fix the roof.
yeah. I mean, so there's somebody who is an expert in real estate, if there is such a thing, as there's going to be contention with any information because somebody's going to want to turn around and spin it the way they want it spun. We've seen that. We know this is the case. We've spent a year of, the movie title is A Year of Living Dangerously, which I think is exactly what the last board was doing. And because people wanted to spin things one way or another. The one thing that can't be spun in the wrong direction is that we need to preserve what we have. And then that's step number one, stop the bleeding. Then, we can go into rehab and actually build things, start up again. Right now, I think we're
in triage right now.
Oh, well, that's what we're trying to do. We can't spend a lot. The whole idea of triage is immediately to determine what needs to be done and then get to it. So that's what people need to know is what they're risking, and that's my big thing is, and we tried to do that last time, and apparently we didn't reach people. They had different ideas. They wanted an assessment. They wanted this. They wanted that. And so it didn't fly. But we need engineers. But we need people that are in real estate who can tell people that if their bulkhead that's 50 yards from them falls in, it still might as well be in their living room, right? Because that's the truth. And they may or may not see it, but it has to be spoken. And if they don't get it, they don't get it. That's the way it goes. But that's part of it, real estate, because they're trading money for money. And to me, it's very clear that any money that they pay on a special assessment, they're going to get it back if they either sell their home or they stay in it. It's so clear, right? Yeah. As Judy said, it's common sense. There's a lot of common sense to it. One way or another, it's going to be there. And homes are selling around here for over $500,000. Okay, so this is a sound community even now. Okay, but and the only way you can keep it sound or get it back to being sound is to do that. And that's just very simple. Very simple.
So to add on to what you just said, and I agree with that sentiment completely. The one thing I would add is just based on my use in industry and some of the projects I've worked on, but having a sort of a communications specialist. Is what we have is we have a change management problem. We're trying to change our condition, and it's going to cost people the special assessment and, you know, some potentially future money off it as well to maintain our standard of life. But that is a change for these people, and having someone who is
Can help us verbalize.
experienced in communicating change, particularly when the change is not going to be, I'll use the word pleasant. I mean, I don't want to pay a penny more for something than what I have to. So having, and I don't know if we have that experience in our community. If we've got,
I'm sure there's some.
trained, experienced communications professionals who can help us develop a communication plan. Because we have stakeholders, and that's the term I've had in project engineering. Homeowners are stakeholders. You have to communicate to them the impact of the decisions that they're going to make. That's my view.
That mentor once, it taught me something about human nature. He said, you have to remember, human nature across the board is that people, the fear of loss is 10 times greater than the desire for gain. But when you're communicating something like this, what we have to communicate is that to really play up, that's going to be lost. You know, because that's the issue. People are going to lose their houses. They're going to lose their way of life. They're going to lose a lot if we can't do this. They have to be made aware of that.
And again, it's communication. We need to figure out how to communicate that in a way that everybody understands.
Yeah, I wonder if there's anybody skilled in graphic arts I think it got to appeal to people in words and graphic designs that they understand. And, not, you get your technical information and then you have to put it into the kind of words, phrases, and all what you were saying about the triage and the pre-op and the operation. That's good. People identify with that. They don't identify with decay of the bulkheads, which is, if you don't live on the water, you don't see it. And there's still a lot of us that aren't on the water. And not as many as long ago. But there's still a lot of us that are in the water, and we don't know what those bulkheads look like. And, you can even use some of the pictures that we've seen that Fred has sent to us, and know that this is what people who understand what a bulkhead is are seeing. And use a little bit of motherly guilt.
One thing that I think a lot of homeowners, the way they feel is that if they don't live on the water, they shouldn't have to be paying for people who live on the water to bulkhead. And so that's kind of what she's saying, some explanation that we are all responsible for everything in the common property. And I know a lot of people have made that comment, but I shouldn't be responsible because I'm not on the water. So that's something that really needs to be conveyed to all the homeowners.
That's the Witham bias. What's in it for me? And just got to be able to communicate what is in it for each individual
Those property owners, property value is going down too.
Yeah, the property value is going down.
Potentially find some cases that have had failures and the implications to a neighborhood that have had a failure. I'm sure they're out there and even in
Is there any more questions out there regarding this discussion? The last item that was on here was just a session to try to identify things that we have to have moving forward. However, we need hour on this say that I think that should be tabled. The only thing I would request is that Gary and I spoke about earlier that there's two committees that we have talked about in the past. One of the getting a lot of work on is trying to get something moving on. Two that have come up is one that will review our current documents, which would be very helpful going forward. If there's any changes that can be made, it would be a change to the CNRs, which is another thing that has to go. Julie has volunteered with her time now is more readily available than the time when she was working. If contact, get the other information you've got, pass on to her. The other was the social committee. We
have a motion on the floor.
No, we already voted on it. Unless there's this something. Yeah.
Some of you know that Dave was the chairperson for the social committee, and because he's not on the board now, he's taking a little bit of a lead from that. And we're looking to augment the social committee, make it an ad hoc committee, one that functions as needed instead of a standing committee. And I'm interested in finding out if anybody has a vested interest in that.
I do get you read it, raise your hand. Dave already called and we have a group that decided that we're gonna work as a team. And when it's time to do something, then he wanted the person who could, have the initiative to be able to report or whatever, if that's approved with y'all. But,
okay. So, we'll get together and talk about what you all have talked about.
Okay.
Great.
Most of the body
And if there's anybody else that likes to have fun, you can join us.
They're not enjoying this.
Right.
One of the things that I may not have heard, because I'm not hearing that well, but I really believe that if we get volunteers to be able to go and explain what is going on face to face, like we have a cul-de-sac, like say Lane, so I'm thinking of going to every one of my neighbors in that cul-de-sac, knocking on their door, and if there's a group of people that would be willing to do that near their, where people are comfortable because they know our faces, and I've spoken with a number of them in our cul-de-sac. If others can do that, I think that connection in here would be much better, because so many people, if you look at every time there's a board meeting, we've had a small, percentage of people. I'm hoping that the Zoom thing's going to be a builder also, but if it's, I don't know how many people are coming in through the Zoom, which I think was great to be established, but I think we need to start doing more of that for everything, but obviously this specific thing, so that people really wake up to the fact that if we don't do something, we are going to be at the end.
Can you tell us roughly, can you tell how many people are watching on Zoom? Just to be
The most we had at one time was 13,
that's
and everybody's been pretty active in the chats. You can see the laughter going around the building because they've been watching on the phones. But Mark Hess has asked that you close the meeting down. It's been 2.5 hours. Per Mark Hess.
Thank you.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
Joy.
Congratulations.
And we can go back down.
Trial by fire.
I don't know, but what is it, year, like they all just like that.